The worst boss for your career isn't always the one who makes your life miserable. Sometimes it's the one who treats you well, the one who goes to bat for you when someone questions your work, the one who tells you you're doing an outstanding job, the one who never pulls you into office politics and always has a reassuring word whenever something goes wrong. That boss, the one who feels like a rare bright spot in a corporate environment that's often unforgiving, may be doing something neither of you realizes. They're keeping you right where you create the most value. That may sound like an unfair accusation against someone who genuinely cares about you, but it isn't. This isn't about bad intentions. It's about a dynamic that unfolds quietly, without your manager ever planning it, and without you ever noticing it, until one day you look back and wonder why. Despite everything you've done right, you're still in the same place. There's a type of manager who shows up time and time again in mid-sized and large organizations, yet rarely gets talked about because they don't fit the stereotype of a toxic boss. It's the protective manager, the one who creates a comfortable, predictable environment for the team, the one who resolves conflicts before they ever reach you, the one who works behind the scenes to keep unnecessary demands off your plate, the one who looks out for you in a way that genuinely feels like loyalty from the inside. And to some extent it is, but that loyalty produces something neither of you intends. It creates dependency. It builds a team that performs exceptionally well within its own bubble while remaining largely invisible to the rest of the organization. And it shapes professionals who are deeply valued inside that protected space, but virtually unknown to the people making decisions beyond it. When the time comes for a promotion, a high-profile assignment, or a conversation about the next step, those people never enter the discussion because no one outside that bubble has ever seen what they can do. Their manager built that boundary to protect them. The unintended consequence is that it also hides them. It feels like support. In reality, it's invisibility. The hardest glass ceiling to recognize isn't the one built by someone who underestimates you. It's the one built by someone who genuinely admires you, but, without even realizing it, doesn't want to lose you where you are. Because you deliver. Because the team performs better with you in it. Because without you, your manager would have to take back the problems you're solving today. The price of feeling secure inside that protected environment is that, more often than not, no one has a compelling reason to move you up. There are unmistakable signs that this is happening, and they're worth calling out, because the difference between a career that keeps moving and one that quietly stalls isn't always obvious from the inside. The projects you're assigned matter within your team, but they carry little strategic visibility across the rest of the organization. The meetings where decisions about budgets, organizational structure, and long-term direction are made happen without you, or even your name, in the room. When opportunities come up to present work to senior leaders or executives from other departments, someone else steps in, usually your manager. The praise is consistent, but conversations about your growth remain vague, postponed, and filled with phrases like, "when the right opportunity comes along," or, "you know you're on our radar." Those aren't lies. They're comfortable delays that no one feels any urgency to turn into action. And if you want a more objective way to tell whether you're caught in this pattern, there are better questions to ask. How long has it been since you worked on a project involving multiple departments? Is there anyone in the organization, outside your direct manager, who knows your work, not just your name? Has a leader from another area ever reached out to you directly to ask for your input, seek your advice, or invite you to contribute to something important? If your answers are no, or even "I'm not sure," then you're not simply in a normal stage of your career. You're operating inside a protected bubble. And this is where most people overlook something that may be even more important. The problem isn't just that you're invisible, it's that you're not building political capital. The distinction becomes obvious when you compare two people working in the same company. The first has spent 5 years delivering consistently strong results. They have a manager who values them deeply, and a team that depends on them. But outside that department, hardly anyone knows who they are. When a new role opens up elsewhere in the organization, their name never surfaces in the informal conversations that shape those decisions, because no one has first-hand experience watching them perform under pressure, make difficult decisions, or handle situations when things fall apart. The second employee has been with the company for only 3 years and has delivered comparable results, but they participated in 2 cross-functional initiatives and presented their work to 3 different directors. When that same opportunity opens up, their name comes up before the hiring process has even officially begun. Performance wasn't the difference. Visibility was. Careers don't advance inside organizations simply because people produce great results. They advance because the right people know about those results. And those people are your internal sponsors, leaders with real influence who mention your name when you're not in the room, recommend you for opportunities before they're publicly posted, and bring you into conversations you never knew were happening. You don't earn sponsors by staying inside a closed circle. You earn them through visibility, cross-functional work, and repeated opportunities for decision makers to see you perform firsthand. And if your direct manager is your only internal sponsor, then your entire career rests in their hands. That isn't security, it's concentrated risk. There's a long-term consequence to this dynamic that almost no one stops to consider while they're living through it. Every year you spend inside that protected bubble is another year in which your network of professional credibility becomes smaller, and the impact tends to reveal itself at the worst possible time. Picture someone who has spent 6 years at the same company, under the same protective manager, before deciding it's finally time for a change. They update their LinkedIn profile, begin talking to recruiters, and quickly run into an uncomfortable reality. The people who can genuinely speak to the quality of their work are always the same people, the same team, the same department, the same environment. Not because they didn't perform exceptionally over those 6 years, but because they performed exceptionally in a place that very few people ever had the opportunity to see. Whether you're interviewing for a new role or being considered for an internal promotion, the references that carry the most weight aren't necessarily the people who think the highest of you. They're the people whose opinions already carry weight with the person making the decision. And that's exactly what this kind of manager can't give you, even when they sincerely want the very best for you. They can't give you the productive discomfort of owning a project where the stakes are real and failure has visible consequences for people who matter. They can't put you in situations where you have to demonstrate judgment under pressure, in front of leaders who don't yet know who you are. They can't force you to develop the ability to navigate complex organizational conflict because they step in and resolve those conflicts before they ever reach you. Ironically, those are the very experiences organizations value most when deciding who's ready for the next level. Confidence isn't built by protecting people from meaningful challenges. It's built through repeated exposure to manageable risk. That's what convinces an organization you're ready for greater responsibility. There's another reason this dynamic is so difficult to break. The relationship is genuinely good. There's no resentment, no tension, no toxic behavior. There's real trust, real appreciation, and a work environment that, compared to what many people experience elsewhere, looks almost ideal. Questioning that relationship feels almost like an act of disloyalty, as though you're risking something good simply because you want something better. That feeling of guilt is precisely what keeps so many talented people in the same place for years. Because the cost of this dynamic doesn't show up all at once, it accumulates. First, it's a year without a promotion, explained away by budget constraints. Then it's 2 years, blamed on a company reorganization. Then it's 3. By that point, no explanation is even necessary because you've learned to stop asking. Meanwhile, outside that protected bubble, people with less experience and fewer meaningful accomplishments keep moving ahead because someone put them in situations where they had to prove themselves in front of the people whose opinions actually mattered. That's not random unfairness. It's the cumulative cost of invisibility. The conversation you need to have isn't a complaint. It isn't a confrontation. It's one of the most delicate conversations you'll ever have in your professional life, because it requires telling someone who genuinely cares about you, someone who sincerely believes they're supporting your growth, that their support has taken you as far as it can. There's a way to begin that conversation that rarely puts people on the defensive, not from a place of frustration, from a place of ambition. You could say something like this: I truly value everything we've built together, and that's exactly why I want to be honest about what I need to keep growing. At this stage, I need exposure that's beyond what this team can offer. That isn't an accusation, it isn't a comparison, and it isn't a threat. It's simply an honest statement about the next stage of your career. More often than not, a manager who genuinely wants what's best for you will eventually understand, even if it's difficult to hear at first, that helping you grow also means helping you become visible beyond the team. It means introducing you to people who can create opportunities they can't. It means working with you to build an internal visibility strategy that doesn't depend entirely on them. But you don't have to wait for that conversation before you begin changing the trajectory of your career. Volunteer for cross-functional projects whenever the opportunity presents itself, even if they require extra effort. Ask to be included in presentations to senior leadership, framing the request as part of your professional development. Build genuine relationships with people in other departments who can become advocates for your work beyond your immediate team. Every one of those moves expands your reach without damaging the relationship you've already built with your manager.